Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. You want to watch me defend against an aggro play from a 23,000 MMR player and a former weekend tourney champion? This is the game for you. Let's go. At the bottom here, I am playing as a quick supply specialist with sledges and vans, and I am up against Cast, a typhoon specialist, also started with sledges and crawlers. Now, being quick supply, one of the very popular startup positions is just the 4 sledge. 4 sledge gives you a tremendous amount of chaff clear as well as a lot of HP in the line here. It is a bit committal, which means whenever you're going for a sledge, you just need to prepare for about round 4 when there's going to be giant on the board. So these type of games typically don't work well into fortresses. War Factory can also eat sledgehammers for breakfast, but it's really depending on where you want to set up your board. In this case, I'm actually hoping to set up the board where my tanks are going to be the main chaff clear, and they are not going to be leveled too much, and instead I'm going to have something else to deal with the damage. Looking at Cat's boards here, he decided to go asymmetrical aggro here. Got 2 sledges and crawlers beside them, so they'll just keep running forward. With the initial deployment, he did spend 1 deployment on the marksman, which I thought was a great idea. Marksmen are excellent against medium-sized units of equal level, so that's just going to give him a lot more damage output into my line of sledgehammers. Alright, getting a very lucky tower on the right-hand side because my opponent went for asymmetrical aggro, and I should be able to mop up very easily in round 1. And that's very expected from Quick Supply. If you are losing round 1 in Quick Supply, then you're probably going to have a pretty hard time into the rest of the game. All right, so we are going to get some very juicy cards here. I picked Extended Range Sledgehammer right away. This has been nerfed. So in the past, you can take Extended Range and you will only get punished by a 20% HP reduction. But now we're going to have HP and attack reduction in exchange to 30 range. For my opponent's boards, I think Improved War Factory is something that he will consider. Extended Range Vulcan is also very good. But since he's playing aggro, Extended Range is just a very underwhelming card for aggro. They don't move very fast, and you really want units to move into the Vulcan as opposed to the Vulcan having to move to the unit. So I'm not sure what my opponent will pick, but I think Improved War Factory is pretty good. The reason I took Extended Range Sledgehammer is because I'm already in a position where my opponent would need to run into me. So I don't really care if I need to, get up to the opponent. With the extended range, I'm able to hit his tanks faster, and it also allows me to get Mech Rage faster. Mech Rage is sort of a double-edged sword. If my opponent decides to put Scorpion and I have Mech Rage but no range, my tank will actually run into the Scorpion and get killed. But because I have extended range, now I can get more shots off while my opponents run their tanks into me. So I think it's a good card. And it's especially good if I only want to use my sledgehammers as chaff clear and not so much as carry, so I'm not too worried about the 20% damage reduction. For Cass here, he decided to skip and continue to fortify on this flank here. He wants to draw as many of my tanks away from the main battle line as possible. And here you see the difference of Mech Rage, right? I was able to just completely demolish that initial 2 squads of crawlers, and now I'm moving on to even more crawlers that are coming down. The additional crawlers on the far right to defend the tower really didn't do the job too well because now I still have tanks running to the tower, and I will get another tower debuff. So great round so far. All right, so we got some sledgehammers being leveled, and we have our first unit drop. Lots of very good cards here. Both of actually all 3, the sabertooth, the fortress, and the farseer are excellent for my opponent. For me, I decided to take the fortress. Between the fortress and the sabertooth, I mean, they're kind of equal in terms of damage. Sabertooth definitely ekes out just a little bit more because being level 3, but I feel like the Fortress might be a little bit more flexible into this position. Fortress has the ability to get shield, which my sledgehammers won't be able to punch through. It has the ability to get rocket punch. If you equip that tech, that can absolutely destroy all kinds of medium units. So I decided to take the Fortress and use it defensively, and my opponent decided to take the level 3 Saber and put in it all the way in front of the line. So this is a great read, and very common in high MMR plays is not only you're responding to the board, you're responding specifically to a single unit on the board. Before this Fortress dropped, a very obvious position will actually be somewhere in this area to defend against the flanking Sledgehammer. This is the only Sledgehammer right now that is exposed. All the other Sledgehammers are hiding behind lines of chaff. So this makes the ideal position either for a Fortress or a Sabertooth. And my opponent was completely counting on that, so decided to add a level 3 Sabertooth. Worst comes worst, he's going to face off against a level 3 Sabertooth of mine if that was my choice, and we essentially just exchange Sabertooth. But for now, I think this is a great move from my opponent. My Fortress got deleted instantly, so not great. I did level up 2 Sledgehammers right there, actually 3 Sledgehammers on the line here. So there is a reason for me to level them up, even if I'm just using them for chaff clear. It's all about breakpoints, right? So when you're fighting against things like, say, let's say if my opponent just drops a lot of Sabertooth, then there's a good chance that I would just stop leveling up my Sledgehammers, because it takes about 2 levels on a Sledgehammer to not be one-shotted by a single Sabertooth. So which means a level 1 Sabertooth one-shots level 2 Sledgies, and then a level 2 Sabertooth one-shots level 4 Sledgies. So it just becomes very inefficient if you keep leveling up your Sledgies going out this way. But when you're against units that has a low damage but high rate of fire, leveling could be very, very efficient because you get twice the HP. So to something that has very low damage like the Typhoons or the Mustangs or even your opponent's Sabertooth, that extra HP is going to account for many, many more shots. So that's one of the reasons when you're thinking about leveling, especially for the frontline units, is whether you can hit a breakpoint or whether you can force your opponents to take many, many more shots onto your unit. Alright, reinforcement cards. Deployment is a great card. I feel like it's almost a must-take card for high MMR plays. It just gives your board so much flexibility, allow you to concentrate your forces where your opponent isn't. For Mr. Cast here, I wouldn't be surprised if he also takes redeployment. Photon could be very good, but right now his units are all kind of slow, so I don't know if Photon will be the best option for now. Alright, so I took the redeployment and I slightly shifted my Fortress to the side and put an extra squad of fans at the front. So that way the Sledgehammers on the side will automatically lock onto my Fortress and they will take forever to kill my Fortress. And then the fans will be at the front tanking shots from the Sabertooth. Minor changes like these make all the difference in high MMR plays, just getting your units to shoot the right target. Alright, so for Cass here, decided to skip once again. And he's going to start with a cheeky flank with wasps. This was completely overlooked by me, especially on this side. I was expecting something more on the other side, which is why I have these level 1 fans behind the tower. But I did run out of money, and I didn't really see a need to loan that early on the other side, and it's going to cost me the round. Alright, let's see how well these wasp flank does. I do have crawlers coming in. Nope, actually, no, that's my opponent's crawlers. So I should still be able to clear these 2 chaff and hopefully get tower at some point. But these wasps are just absolutely going to get a perfect timing just as the crawlers are engaging my Sabertooth. So this is a very painful round for me. And his level 3 saber, after killing 2 fortresses, is already getting into level 4. The double shot is deadly against any sort of giant, and next, I think with level 4, he should be taking field maintenance, and that's going to make it very difficult for my units to kill. When you have high-level sabers like this, really the only answer to that is melting point, because not even level 1 forts is able to bring it down in a 1-to-1 battle. So you're either going to need a lot of units left over, which is always an uncertainty, or you're going to need something like a melting. All right, reinforcement cards. Bombard is a great card that allows me to clear a whole lot of chaff. Even though I have mech rage on my sabertooth, on my sledgies, they aren't really what I would call the efficient chaff clear. So here's the Bombard getting rid of all his stuff. And I'm also worried about a potential saber switch. So you can get like maybe 3 more sabers just kind of be in line here. That could be very dangerous. Looking at my opponent's board, one thing that's also very weak is his chaff clear, because his current chaff clear consists of a single squad of Typhoons and some mediocre sledgehammers that are not even mech rage. So they're going to have a very hard time doing that. Pick Bombard, and every time you're using an ability like this, you can always splurge a little bit and get oil. So that's going to hold their units down even further and get the most damage out of things like Bombard or Lightning Storm or even a nuke, right? Sometimes you can use the oil to kind of hold opponents down for a nuke. Cass decided to put down a War Factory. This is a very popular build these days. We call it a corner War Factory. So the way it works is you have War Factory on the corner, mobile beacon towards the tower, and then the next round you're going to sell it and you're going to put it somewhere else, usually on the other corner where your defense is weak. So the oil is actually going to stop a lot of the movement from this army. It's going to completely destroy the chaff line, and hopefully my sledgehammers can actually get to the level 3 sabertooth. But what's really helping out here is the shield defense, and just watch how many shots it takes for a single sabertooth to clear out a single squad of a shield defense, even with the support of a War Factory. Alright, so the lines are falling, and right now I'm getting a very good round with most of my units still intact. Yes, this sabertooth is a nightmare to kill, but I've got 3 sledgehammers, 1 fort, 1 marksman, a bunch of chaffs just constantly shooting at it, and it's still not going down quick enough. But once it's down, and once I'm getting the tower on both sides, this should be my round. We're just going to have to see how many units this War Factory take with them. Alright, great round for me here. Unit drop, couple great options. I think a Scorpion is probably the best option as an answer directly to both Sabertooth and the War Factory, and it adds a considerable amount of damage to my board. Stormcaller is also another good option. These are level 3 Stormcallers, which means they hit very hard. The problem with Stormcallers is just that you need a tremendous amount of protection. And also, with War Factory, I feel like Stormcaller just does not have enough consistent firepower as a Scorpion, because I can also get double shot. I can always get acid later on, right? This is a very definitive hard counter to a War Factory. Wraith, it will be a great option for my opponent, and so is Farseer. It gives them, Farseer actually gives them chaff clear, and then Wraith is just a hard chaff clear. My anti-air right now consists of a single level 1 marksman, so that's going to be a bit of a problem. Now, last round I talked about this corner War Factory play, right? So it's very popular just to have it swim over to the other side, and I'm completely anticipating this. I'm going to put my Scorpion on the other side with additional fans just to make sure that I don't get demolished and get tower too early. But at the same time, I needed big damage units to get rid of this Sabertooth. I mean, we all saw how long it took for the rest of my army to get to the Sabertooth, and this round I'm not going to have Bombard. So I spent the money, took the loan, got the melting point, got temp range, so everything can, you know, survive a little bit longer. And let's see what happens. My opponent this round decided to take loose on the crawlers because my primary chaff clear are these sledgehammers, and they require the splash of 5 meters to do chaff clear effectively. Otherwise, they're just kind of shooting at individual crawlers, and that will take forever. The right side units are coming in, but fortunately, my level 3 Scorpion was able to get to the War Factory before it gets to my tower. On the left side here, it seems like chaff is finally getting taken care of, and we are going to have our melting point locking onto the sabertooth. The great thing about melting point is that it also answers the level 3 wraith. So when you're looking at unit cards, you have to ask yourself the question, what is one thing that is going to mess my board up? And to me, it was either Farseer or the wraith. I didn't really see, like, the Scorpion was a bit redundant because he already had really high level sabers. He already had War Factory. He doesn't need more ground damage. But the Farseer and the Wraith, because Farseer is more than just ground damage, it's also a bit of chaff clear, and it also shoots very far. And then the Wraith is something that my board has no answer to. So I've decided to take the melting point in case something like that happened, and it also answers high level sabertooth. And that was it. So this is the last round was a little anticlimactic because I predicted that's what's going to happen, and it was promptly shut down. But many times, right, if you see Corner War Factory, you may not immediately know that there's going to be a positional shift in the next round. And a lot of times the War Factory is going to get a tower. This round he took range. Next round most likely it's going to be launcher overload, and it might even be another cell. And that's how usually this sort of a game goes. So great game by Cass. I think it's very well played. But the prediction on the Corner War Factory was just a little too much tempo into his board, and unfortunately he was not able to capitalize on that strategy. So I hope you enjoyed this game, and if you like to see more high-level MMR plays, there is another video for you, and I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics, Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress, the battlefield's alive with swarms.